Hi, I'm Patricia Smith. I have lived my entire life with the horror of breast cancer hanging over me. My mother and all her sisters died over a period of years from breast cancer. Pam, my twin and I, Pam and I, were born like 6 weeks after her oldest sister died, and we had gone to the funeral with Mom before we were born. So I knew all about this forever. And my mother had had many biopsies over the years, and finally in 1973 was diagnosed the first time, probably 74, with breast cancer, and had first I think a radical mastectomy, and then a year or so later had a modified radical. And she lived for a while for 20 years, I guess, without having a recurrence, but she indeed died from a brain tumor that was metastasized from breast cancer in 93. And so when she first had the first breast cancer, I started seeing a breast surgeon every 6 months, which created a horrific amount of fear in me. So every 6 months I'd go and have my breasts examined by a surgeon, thinking, is it now that I'm going to lose them or what? And that was when I lived in Cleveland. And when I moved to Chicago, the gynecologist said, no, you don't need to do that. You're going to be fine. And I would have a mammogram every year. And then when I came to California, I met with someone who does NAIT here, who said, there's no need for you, you need to stop worrying about it, because all the radiation you're getting from all the mammograms is going to hurt you more than anything. And I'd also read Carolyn Mace's book about the source of often the source for women of getting breast cancer is being angry at a female that's in their life. And I, I was gradually working on many of the emotional issues that had been with me my entire life. So at some point, I actually, metaphorically, I would do it more overtly now, cancel the contract that I would get breast cancer, because I knew for many years that I would die without my breasts. And I stopped believing that. I stopped thinking that I stopped having mammograms in 2002. That's when I had my last one. And I will go see a doctor if I ever have any indications I need to, but I have had no indication that I have any problems with my breasts. So, but my sister Pam, my twin, did not go through the transformations that I did. She, in 2007, I think, ended up having her husband found a lump after the mammogram did not find it, and she ended up having a double mastectomy. And the amount of everything that could go wrong with her entire healing journey went wrong it was just horrible. I mean, things were left in that shouldn't have been left in, and it was just not a wonderful path. And I saw her a couple times during that journey. I moved to California and she was still in Chicago. And she went into remission from the breast cancer, but indeed she died of a metastasis she had a knee replacement that didn't work because she had bone cancer, and she suffered through bone cancer for a little while before she actually passed in July 14th, 2012. So I'm happy to report that I have sore knees, but they're not, I don't want a knee replacement. I'm healthy. I'm not seeing a doctor for a while, and that's okay. Even though some people think that's not the way to approach life. I am not in fear. I am happy and joyful. So the other part of the journey with my twin is that in 1976, I think, I ended up having a kidney infection, or a urinary infection that went into my kidney, and I ended up having to have surgery that my left kidney had a constricture like a rubber band that stopped the flow of urine from my kidney to my ureter. And I was in the hospital at Northwestern for 17 long days, and it was an interesting experience. And they suggested at that time that my twin also have the X-ray of the kidney, and she chose not to spend the $100. So a year later, she had the similar symptoms of mine, where she curled up in a ball and just was in horrible pain. And I had gone to work for a bunch of weeks with this pain, not realizing how horrible I was, how horrible this was, what it was doing to me. Anyhow, so she went. She was in and out of the hospital much more quickly once they figured out that they didn't believe that she had a kidney problem like mine, and because they learned from me, they did it very quickly. So interesting that like 2 years ago I had a nightmare that I needed a kidney transplant, and I'm going, no, I don't. I know it's thinned out. I've had an x-ray for my lungs that showed my kidney being thinned out and bigger than it's supposed to be, but no, I do not need a kidney transplant. So I argued with the nightmare, went back to sleep, and the nightmare continued, which really was not what I wanted. And I went, oh, all I need to do is say I mined the Akash for a new left kidney. Nightmare went away, and about a month later I'm going, oh, I can feel that I just got a new kidney. Because when you say I mined the Akash for a body part or a skill set, and this is based on Lee Carroll, who channels Kryan's book, The Recalibration of Humanity, and Monica Mariani, who also wrote about the Lee Carroll channelings, called The Human Akash. And I went, okay, I got a new kidney. And it was really cool. And I, of course, have no proof. But I enjoyed that a friend of mine recently, once I heard the complete story about her lung problem, I went, oh, I went through the however many questions I had at the time and went, oh, we need to mine the Akash. And so I went through, it's a longer statement than I mine the Akash, but I went through it for her, and her higher self went and found a young lung, and indeed she got a new lung. And for the first time, I mean, it was fun because she went to see a medical intuitive very shortly after that and said, could you check out my lungs? And I said, there's nothing wrong with your lungs. It's just they look like baby's lungs, which is what she got. So I know it works. I knew it worked for me, but I didn't have physical proof, and I did get it from my friend. Anyway, so it's really powerful that you can get a skill set or a body part. And the body part comes from, and the skill set comes from a past or future life. So there's no possibility of rejection because they're all you. So it's the coolest thing. Anyway, I hope you understand that this is a huge benefit for all, that you can find. I mean, I think I got new knees this way and probably new hips at some point. It was interesting that I didn't know the power of it until much later. And then once I realized that, I was very thankful. And so it is.